in the academic world, the more historical connections I find to the secret world. I am writing this in a study once occupied by the philosopher Stuart Hampshire, former warden of Wadham College, Oxford. After serving in intelligence during the Second World War, he was commissioned to write a report on what should happen to GCHQ. It is largely thanks to him that the organisation prospered financially under a government that had little understanding of what it did or what the new costly world of computers might bring. Hampshire understood the centrality of the relationship with the US National Security Agency and how the balance of power was shifting. I am grateful to the fellows and staff of Wadham for giving me space in which to write. Finally, Celia, Luke and Evie put up with years of secrecy, starting with an unusual family life in Northern Ireland, followed by recent years of procrastination in writing this. They have maintained a healthy detachment, balance and a sense of humour towards the secret world, attitudes that would be very familiar to the best of those who worked at Bletchley Park. Introduction. Not long after my arrival at GCHQ, I met with the senior leadership and we talked about the organisation's strange history. It was a small group, since GCHQ is a flat organisation and one of the few in government where it is relatively difficult to persuade people to go for promotion to leadership roles. Its iconic main building, known as the Donut, is brilliantly designed, but without much interest in large meeting spaces, for cultural reasons that I hope will become obvious. As a result, we met in an uninspiring concrete-walled room underground to talk about the past, and also the future. I brought up the subject of Bletchley Park that day, partly because I had studied it for some years and it ran through the DNA of GCHQ. In fact, some of our new recruits had trained there until the buildings became too dilapidated in the 1980s. But the main reason I wanted to discuss it was because Bletchley, and some of the achievements of our predecessors in the 1960s and 1970s, seemed to me to have lessons for our approach to the huge new challenges that lay ahead of us. In 2014, the UK was facing a rising tide of cyber attacks across the economy, the re-emergence of Islamist terrorism in the shape of ISIS, a newly aggressive Russian regime, and a re-emergent, assertive China. The dominance of big tech companies was presenting new problems in making high-grade encryption available to bad people as well as good, and increasingly the intelligence picture the West had been used to was going dark. GCHQ itself had come through the Edward Snowden revelations of the previous year relatively unscathed, albeit subject to a level of publicity that had been deeply uncomfortable for staff and presenting a huge diversion of effort. It now needed to build and secure public trust, and the Prime Minister at the time was keen to make the organisation more open. As always, GCHQ had to confront an overabundance of threats with limited resources, augmented by some strategic challenges as the centre of gravity for technology continued to move away from government to the private sector. In the cyber world and the emerging landscape of artificial intelligence, this was a sector spending trillions of dollars each year on research and development, against which GCHQ's budget, even combined with that of its US allies, seemed puny. But government looked to GCHQ to solve hard technical security problems, both in the present and 10 or more years ahead. The organisation's task remained to meet present threats and crises while building for the future, to keep re-engineering itself in flight. In short, GCHQ was in the process of facing the challenges of the age of digital information and intelligent machines, an age that its Bletchley predecessors had done so much to create. This book tries to trace the human journey of an organisation that is always on the brink of irrelevance, of disruption by new adversaries deploying new technologies, always about to be made obsolete by the march of science. Fast forward to the post-pandemic world, and we have all become acutely aware of our current failures to plan, innovate, manufacture, and organise for a nation at scale and at speed. These questions become more urgent as we survey the global problems piling up ahead of us, from future pandemics to climate change. After a century of dizzyingly rapid technological change,